We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, Malma Angeles. We're moving to the next stage of the pandemic, and as the world resets to the new normal, we find ourselves seeking the right balance between health and livelihood, constantly adjusting the boundaries between liberty and responsibility. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. First, Malacanang bared that the remains of some 50 overseas Filipino workers who died of coronavirus disease in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will be buried in the host country. In a statement, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque clarified that the remains of the 50 OFWs will not be brought back to the Philippines. Per the Department of Labor and Employment, the remains of the 50 OFWs who died due to COVID-19 related illnesses will be buried in Saudi Arabia following the host country's local customs, according to the presidential spokesperson. Labor Secretary Silvestro Bello, meanwhile, in a radio interview, said that King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud of Saudi Arabia has asked Philippine authorities to bring home the remains of 282 OFWs. Bello said the Philippines was given 72 hours by Saudi Arabia to bring home the remains of the OFWs since cremation is not allowed in the Middle Eastern country. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque also expressed sympathies to the families of the 282 OFWs who died in Saudi Arabia due to natural and other causes. He assured that concerned agencies of the government have already been directed to extend assistance to their families. The 282 OFWs who died in Saudi Arabia refer to the combined number of OFWs who died there since the country imposed a lockdown in February, the Department of Labor and Employment said. On Sunday, the Department of Foreign Affairs disclosed that one more Filipino abroad was infected with COVID-19, bringing the number of OFWs contracting the disease to 6,141. In its case bulletin, the DFA said there are 11 new recoveries and one new death in the Middle East. The total number of recovered cases overseas is now 2,862, while the death toll has climbed to 496. Meanwhile, a total of 2,783 Filipinos abroad are still undergoing treatment. More than 300 Vietnamese citizens were repatriated from Angola, and a Zero-Dong supermarket opened in an industrial zone in Hanoi to help workers affected by COVID-19. Joining us live is Charlene Navaja from Hanoi, Vietnam. Hello, Charlene.
Good afternoon to you, Alma, and to everyone around the world. Updates Charlene. In Vietnam. More than 300 Vietnamese citizens repatriated from Angola. A Vietnam Airlines flight carrying 309 Vietnamese citizens from Angola landed at Van Don International Airport in Quang Ninh on June 19. So passengers on board are children, elderly, patients with chronic diseases, pregnant women, and workers whose visas and labor contracts had expired. The Vietnamese embassy in Angola sent staff to the airport to support the citizens to complete related procedures before the plane takeoff. After landing at the Van Don Airport, all the passengers and crew members received health checkups and were quarantined in line with the country's current regulations. So the flight is a part of the ongoing joint efforts by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Transport, and relevant competent agencies to bring citizens stranded abroad due to COVID-19. So this is the 27th repatriation flight arranged since April 24, with about 6,988 passengers from foreign countries and territories. So as of today, Alma, there are 349 confirmed COVID-19 cases here in Vietnam. 327 recovered, 18 patients are experiencing the relapse, but with 0 death. And in another news, Alma, so a Zero-Dong supermarket was opened on Saturday to support 1,500 workers in the Thang Long industrial zone in Hanoi, who have been financially affected by the coronavirus. So, just an FYI, Dong is the monetary unit of Vietnam. So the shop, lasting for only 2 days over the weekend, is a joint initiative between the New Zealand Embassy in Vietnam and the Vietnam General Confederation of Labor and the International Labor Organization in Vietnam. So each customer who visits the Zero Dong supermarket operated by the Trade Union of Thang Long Industrial Zone is allowed to choose a package of groceries worth around 200,000 Vietnam dong. So that's just around 8 to 9 US dollars, but you can actually buy a lot from that. So this is for free. So the items on the shelf included essential goods such as rice, eggs, cereals, vegetables, noodles, and protective products like face mask and hand sanitizer. So Ambassador Wendy Matthews at the opening ceremony said that this project demonstrates the strong partnership between New Zealand and Vietnam and is a practical initiative to help ease the economic impacts of COVID-19 on Thang Long workers and their families. So New Zealand and Vietnam celebrate 45 years of diplomatic relations this year. So over that time, New Zealand has worked closely with Vietnam to develop shared prosperity and stability, so drawing on the best of New Zealand's knowledge and skills. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Charlene, for your updates there in Vietnam. Thank you, EBC Vietnam Bureau.
Thank you so much, Alma. And before I go, a big shout out to my nieces in Cebu, who graduated with high honor. So, Leandra Candice Seco Bazar and Kathleen Miles Apolonio Rempis. And to all the Navajas in Cebu and Dallas TX, Campus family in Bourbon, Cebu, Apolonio and Rempis family, Aro and Gaper families in Cebu and Manila, and the Calago families. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Charlene Navaja reporting live from Hanoi, Vietnam. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Charlene. Congratulations to our graduates. All right, now to Thailand. A partial solar eclipse has wowed the stargazers over there. Here's Aaron Blue Calleja from our EBC Bangkok Bureau. Hello, Aaron.
Hello, Mama. Good day to all of our viewers.
Good day.
And good day to you. Sawadee ka. And for this news update, sky watchers across the country had a chance to see a partial solar eclipse that passed over the kingdom, a phenomenon that will not occur for the next 7 years. Around 300 enthusiasts gathered at the observatory in Plain Yao, district of Chachoengsao, the closest facility to Bangkok, to witness the solar eclipse. Many others used telescopes and protective glasses to view it on other observatories or outdoor locations around the country. The National Astronomical Research Institute of Thailand, which operates the observatories, said that the moon started to obscure the sun here in Thailand yesterday at 1:10 in the afternoon, with peak coverage of 40% took place at 2:49 in the afternoon. The partial eclipse ended at 4:09 p.m. and was best seen in the northern region part of the country. Thailand joined other countries around the world in viewing this kind of event, and the sky gazers have to wait until August 2, 2027 to see the next partial solar eclipse. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Aaron. Very beautiful. Amazing. We also saw it here. Thank you so much, Aaron, for your updates there.
Thank you so much. And reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand, this is Aaron Blue Calleja, and we live in interesting times.
The outgoing governor of Phuket has proposed an international medical hub as the island has taken a heavy financial hit due to the effects of the pandemic. That and more from our EBC correspondent in Phuket. Here's Farah Benito. Hello, Farah.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon, and to all our viewers around the world. Here's our latest news here in Phuket today. According to Phuket On-Demand News, on 17th of June, Phuket has proposed a new project called the International Medical and Public Health Service to create more long-term financial security, diversification, and value-added tourism in Phuket, as the island has taken a heavy financial hit due to the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. We have previously mentioned on one of our reports last week, Alma, Mr. Buniong Sakul, owner of Boat Lagoon here in Phuket, has said on a Bangkok Post that the fallout of the market here in Phuket has been particularly severe because the province relies so heavily on tourism. He even suggested that the government should shift into focusing away from tourism and rebrand Phuket as a medical and educational destination. Now that this is really being discussed by the government, the project will use state-owned property near the Tatachai police station in Macau, 16 kilometers away from Phuket Airport, and will use approximately 22.4 hectares of land. Now, the idea for this project came from the outgoing Phuket governor, the director of the Chira Phuket Hospital, Public Health Ministry of Phuket, and various private sectors. According to the news source, the project would become a contemporary international medical hub. If the project is supported by the government, it will be the focus of health tourism in Thailand and help draw quality tourists from around the world. On the other side of the news, Alma, the Phuket Provincial Health Office, or PPHO, is inspecting spas across the island and issuing certificates to those that have been proved compliant with the health requirements to prevent the spread of COVID-19. PPHO Deputy Chief Mr. Somsuk said that so far, the results have been impressive, as a total of 266 spas in Phuket had registered through a web portal setup to be inspected and approved by the Ministry of Public Health. This is to attest that they comply with the regulations to help prevent the spread of the disease. Of those 266 spas, by the way, 225 had been inspected and approved, and a further 25 are awaiting inspection. However, 41 spas in Phuket failed their inspections. Mr. Samsuk also said that the spas that failed to pass inspection were ordered to cease providing the specific services affected until Phuket health officers could return and confirm that the spa was fully compliant. There is also a full checklist that they have given and also provides guidelines for specific people in the spa to follow, from the receptionist to the spa therapist providing the services. Back to you, Alma.
All right, so like everywhere else, the tourism industry in Thailand, especially Phuket, is also a tourist spot, has been affected by the pandemic. How does the Thailand government plan to revive its tourism industry?
Yes, actually, the country now is poised to reopen for tourists with a focus on domestic tourism, as the government also tries to revive a major contributor to the Thai economy hit by the pandemic. Actually, the World Tourism Organization noted in its May Impact Assessment Report that domestic tourism may recover faster than international travel, and Thailand is also looking to persuade 6 million Thai people who had plans to go overseas to stay and travel within the country instead. Suwon Visit Ratchabat University also cited on their survey that it says that over 75% of Thai people agree that they would like the Thai people to tour their own country first before going elsewhere. Alma?
All right. Thank you very much, Farah, for your updates there in Phuket, Thailand. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you, Alma. Reporting from Phuket, Thailand. This is Farah Silana Bitinto. We live in interesting times.
ASEAN in Focus, we'll be right back.
Patindi ng patindi at tuloy-tuloy ang pagpapakita ng galing ng ating mga TNG aspirants.
You're just too good to be true.
It up, you came to get it drunk with a dame, and shit it drunk, you got it.
When I was a child.
Abangan ng kanilang performances sa pinakamalaking talent competition sa buong bansa, Tagisan ng Galing.
Tagisan ng Galing is presented by SMC Infrastructure, building a better world. Sanmig sugar-free white coffee, puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na Sanmig sugar-free white coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free. Vet-approved Nutrichunks, the only premium dog food with active boost for optimum energy and prebiotics that help strengthen immunity. Just like Catherine Bernardo, gawing listo, ganado ang fur babies niyo. Listo ganado sa Nutrichunks. Magnolia Chicken Templados, delicious, ready to cook and freshly marinated daily. Pure Foods Luncheon Meat, pure sarap for every family. Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef, ang cheesy ng corned beef mo. Walang duda, kids can tell na #1 ang Pure Foods Tender Juicy. Ang tender, ang juicy, ang sarap. Co-presented by Cooper, expert in air conditioning and electromechanical. Also engaged in structural, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, and sanitary services. Cooper, your ultimate NEPs and air conditioning solutions. Unlad Incorporated International, fight against global poverty. New San Jose Builders Incorporated. Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee. Masarap, mabango, at healthy pa. Puerto Rico Resort and Convention Center, Cabiao, Nueva Ecija. I love Puerto Rico. In participation with Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint, Matimco, R Square Variables Incorporated, Compizel Enterprises, Saisho International Trading Corporation, DN Steel, EMAC UPB Roof Corporation.
Hey, Gretchen Ho here, and I'm a white coffee lover. Creamy kasi, and very yummy. Pero mas masarap kung hindi nakaka-guilty. Check my new discovery, San-Made Sugar-Free White Coffee. Puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na! San-Made Sugar-Free White Coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free.
Skyway Stages 1 and 2, the elevated toll road system project, run from a section of the South Luzon Expressway from Alabang to Magallanes, Makati. The Skyway Stage 3 is an elevated expressway connecting the South Luzon Expressway through the existing Skyway Stages 1 and 2 to the North Luzon Expressway via Balintawak. Skyway Stage 4 is an 80-kilometer mixed elevated and at-grade toll road that will connect the existing Skyway system, starting from the FTI section all the way to Bulacan.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutrichunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutrichunks.
Ikaw lang ang star ng buhay ko. Para sa akin, perfect ka. Ang cheesy ng corned beef mo. Pag Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef, sarap ng corned beef, inangat pa ng real cheese cubes. Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef.
Welcome back. Singapore is prepared to work with Malaysia in lifting its border restrictions. And the government is urged to expand its border policies. Joining us live from our Kuala Lumpur Bureau is Ruby Tinawin. Hello, Ruby.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, for the latest news here in Malaysia, Singapore is prepared to work with Malaysia in addressing the needs of cross-border travelers amid the COVID-19 situation. The travelers include short-term business and official travelers, as well as Singaporeans and Malaysians who were previously commuting between the two countries. The Republic Ministry of Foreign Affairs said this in a statement on Friday in response to media queries on Malaysia's proposal to lift border restrictions between Singapore and Malaysia, adding such bilateral arrangement would have to include mutually agreed public health protocols to preserve the public health and safety of citizens on both sides. The ministry's spokesman also said both countries will require some time to work out on the details on the gradual easing of border restriction to ensure a stable recovery from the COVID-19 situation. On Friday, Malaysia had in principle agreed to allow Singaporeans and Bruneians to enter the country's borders without having to apply for approval from the Malaysian Immigration Department or to undergo COVID-19 screening or home quarantine. Senior Minister Dato Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said, however, this was on condition that Malaysians would also be afforded the same privileges by the Singapore and Brunei governments. Ismail Sabri, who is also the Minister of Defense, said Wisma Putra was currently discussing the matter with Singapore's Foreign Ministry and that Malaysia's decision to relax restrictions was dependent on the outcome of the discussions being held. He said the permission to enter Malaysia without restrictions would only be granted to Singaporeans and Bruneians who were living in the respective countries, adding that the two countries, as well as New Zealand and Australia, were also currently classified as green zones by Malaysia's health ministry. Since the Malaysian government imposed a movement control order from March 18 to curb the COVID-19 pandemic, Malaysians were prohibited from entering Singapore, affecting thousands who commute to the island republic daily to earn a living. Likewise, Singaporeans who were in Malaysia were allowed to return home, but were not allowed to re-enter Malaysia during the MCO. Meanwhile, the plan to open up the country to travelers from 6 countries should be expanded, with the business and tourism sector saying that Thailand, Vietnam, and China should also be considered. Key business sector officials said the 3 countries had managed the COVID-19 situation well, and Malaysia could benefit from opening up its borders to them. Officials said the health ministry was currently studying modalities to include Thailand and Vietnam in the open border policy. It was reported that Malaysia has begun discussion with 6 green countries: Singapore, Brunei, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea, that it would like to open its borders post-COVID-19. However, Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said any sort of agreement between Malaysia and those countries must be mutual and reciprocal. Several top businesses and retail key players have met with Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin and the Economic Action Council to table their suggestions directly to the government. Among the proposals presented included a recommendation for the government to slowly but cautiously open up its borders to selected green zone countries, such as Thailand and Vietnam, to kickstart the economy. A recommendation for the government to allow remaining sections to reopen as long as they comply with the SOP. A recommendation for a tax break between 5 to 10 years for foreign direct investment and local reinvestment, and for banks to provide soft loans with low interest to further boost spending and stimulate the economy, and a drive to buy local products that were subsidized by the government. Transport Minister Dato Sri Dr. B. Kashong said that Malaysia's opening up of its border will help in the recovery of the public transportation and aviation sector. He said Wisma Putra was in discussion with several countries around the region to allow their citizens to travel to Malaysia. In other news, more than 300 local skippers and masterminds have been identified as being involved in smuggling illegal immigrants into the country. The National Task Force, NTF, said in a statement that those involved were being hunted down by authorities and would be prosecuted under the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act 2007, adding local people, especially those involved in the maritime industry, such as fishermen, boat owners, operators, and anglers, will be subjected to harsh action by the authorities if they are found guilty of being a skipper and a mastermind in managing the smuggling of illegal immigrants into the country. The group will also face the cancellation of fishing licenses and licenses to operate passenger or recreational boats. In the statement, the NTF also said that enforcement action was not only confined to the waters of the peninsula, Sabah and Sarawak, but also at the country's land borders. NTF, through Op Benteng, will assault them all out to ensure that there is no unauthorized landing of migrants, since the MCO order was enforced to avoid the risk of COVID-19 outbreaks and no law is violated by any party. Of Benteng, which was activated last month under the NPF, is an integrated operation involving the Malaysian Armed Forces, the Royal Malaysian Police, the Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, Ministry of Health, Malaysian Civil Defense Force, the Immigration Department, and the Malaysian Volunteer Corps Department to enhance enforcement and control along the country's border. Back to you, Alma.
All right, thank you very much, Ruby, for your updates there in Malaysia. Thank you, EBC Kuala Lumpur Bureau.
Yes, reporting live here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. This is Ruby Tinawin. We live in interesting times.
And now we go to Cambodia. Crystal Ann Ballesteros joins us live. Crystal, hello.
Hi, Alma. For Cambodia news update, the royal government of Cambodia will launch a cash relief program for the poor and vulnerable families during the COVID-19 crisis on Wednesday, June 24. The announcement was made by Prime Minister Hun Sen in a Facebook post yesterday. The cash fund aimed to assist these locals whose job has been suspended due to COVID-19 crisis, especially the poor and remote areas who are facing food shortage. And the royal government of Cambodia has sought out ways to help poor people in this critical situation. Mr. Hun Sen took the opportunity to re-appeal to his compatriots to follow the preventive norms, especially to wear face masks and often wash their hands. For crowded places such as malls, restaurants, coffee shops, stores, particularly clinics and hospitals, they must provide face masks and alcohol and gel-based sanitizers for their customers to prevent the transmission of the coronavirus. Back to you, Alma.
All right. So, what about the construction of the airport? Any updates on that to open up for the tourists? Is that ongoing?
Yes, Alma. According to Prime Minister Hun Sen this morning, the new Phnom Penh International Airport is 30% completed and will be finished by 2024. During the site visit of the new Phnom Penh International Airport, Mr. Hun Sen said that the new airport will be a 4F-class airport. He added that the new Phnom Penh International Airport is be able to accommodate Airbus and Boeing 747-800. It is expected when the new Phnom Penh International Airport is fully opened, Cambodia is able to attract more international visitors and investors to the kingdom. This airport has invested about $1.5 billion. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Crystal Ann, for your updates there in Cambodia. Stay safe, stay healthy.
You too, Alma. Reporting live here in Cambodia, this is Crystal Ann Ballesteros, and we live in interesting times.
And over in Macau International Airport, it saw hundreds of passengers, stranded Filipino nationals. They flew home after being stranded there for up to 4 months. Our EBC correspondent Kit Wong was at the scene.
Have applied for
371 Filipino consist of OFW and tourists who are stuck in Macau will be repatriated today through the mandate of the Philippine government.
Hundreds of Filipinos packed the Macau International Airport for another repatriation to their homeland Philippines. According to Consul General Ms. Lilibeth Diabera of the Philippine Consulate here in Macau, 371 individuals, mostly Filipino overseas workers or OFW, who were stranded in Macau since the lockdown in the middle of February this year.
As you know, we are again repatriating Filipinos to the Philippines, and in this flight, there will be around 371 individuals, 362 adults, and 9 infants.
All 371, including tourists with 9 infants, will be sponsored in this charter flight by the Philippine government. She also stated that more than 800 Filipinos here applied for the repatriation since the lockdown began.
This flight is sponsored by the Philippine government. We had the approval of the IATF through the intercession of the Department of Foreign Affairs. We again requested if there are more seats, if we can be accommodated. So because as you know, 800 plus have applied for repatriation, and it's only 371, including the infants.
Ms. Diabera said that OFWs who lose their job are increasing. Some were not renewed from their contract, and some were asked to have forced leave due to the crisis brought by the pandemic.
This is principally composed more of OFWs than tourists, because what happened is that some of the workers lost their jobs. Before, they were just informed that they will have to no work, no pay, but eventually they were told that they could no longer keep them in their work, because as you know, business in Macau is also going down.
The Philippine Consulate have structured a website where Filipinos who wished to be repatriated would apply and register.
I am tourist here in Macau. I was just here because my sister was about to give birth, so I assist her here. But when the time comes that the ban came, I was here, and then I cannot go back to the Philippines anymore. They just posted a website so we can register for the repatriation.
Dahil po isa po ako sa naapektuhan, at syempre po dahil nais ko din pong makauwi na ng Pinas, lagi po ako nag-update through online po. Meron po ang ating gobyernong online website na kung saan dun po natin ma-check yung mga update about sa flight, sa free flight po ng gobyerno. So nais ko po magpasalamat sa ating gobyerno, lalong-lalo na po sa ating presidente sa patuloy na suporta po sa mga OFW na hindi nila pinapabayaan kahit saang lupalop man po tayo ng bansa. So nais ko po magpasalamat.
Ms. Diabera emphasized that the Philippine Consulate in Macau opened their ear to their voices and grievances in these hard times. She told us that the Philippine government is doing their best to repatriate not only those who were stranded here in Macau, but also hundreds of thousands of Filipinos around the globe who needs to be repatriated too. She told us that we need to cooperate to the authorities due to its government restrictions to handle this crisis of pandemic.
There are also other Filipinos in other parts of the world who are also needing assistance. As you know, there are a lot of cases in the Middle East of our kababayans getting sick, and losing their jobs. In Europe also, we are also, from what I understand, repatriating our kababayans.
Many of these OFW and tourists have waited for this day for repatriation, but some hoping to stay in Macau knowing that the infected case in Philippines is increasing.
Iniintay po namin ang repatriation ng Pilipinas. Nagpapasalamat po kami sa consulate na ano po ang repat namin kasi marami po kaming nawalan ng trabaho dito. Tapos stranded po. So very thankful po at nakasama kami.
According to them, they were able to stand their daily needs from the help of their friends, relatives, some organizations, and their consulate. They were still thankful for the relief they received, though the world is suffering in these trying times.
Only helping other same people, ma'am, give relief so that they have a food in that 3 months because we don't have no work.
Dahil po sa crisis na nangyayari, sa kabutihang palad naman po, meron po akong mga kaibigan na handang tumulong at saka sumuporta po sa aking mga pangangailangan tulad po ng aking mga kamag-anak na nandito po sa Macau. So sila po yung patuloy na sumusuporta at hindi nagpapabaya sa akin. At sobrang thankful po ako dahil doon. Salamat po sa Philippine Consulate dahil naka-avail po ako sa libreng sakay.
After they land in Manila, they will have to undergo the swab test. Before leaving, they were told to register in two systems, two surveys. One would be OASIS, which is with the Office of the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, and the other one is ESIF, which is under Red Cross, and that is to monitor where they're going. Basically, it's the same as our survey. And the idea is that once they are already in the system, it will be easy for the government to identify, to monitor where they're going. So, for example, they know that the cases in Macau has been 0 for the last 2 months. So, I expect that they will be considered when they undergo the quarantine. So, supposedly, after 3 to 5 days, when the result is negative, then they will be sent to their provinces.
And so, do they need to pay any
ticket?
Yeah, their ticket.
Now they don't have to pay any for
So
their
free.
tickets here. Yeah, the tourists will have to pay for their swab tests if they are not members of PhilHealth, and they will also have to be ready to pay the hotel or the accommodation for the quarantine facility. For the OWA members, their stay in the quarantine facility will be charged to OWA. And the test also is charged to OWA.
From Macau, reporting for Eagle News, I am Kip Wong. We live in interesting time.
Thank you, Kit. The death toll due to the coronavirus disease in the police force has reached 8, as another cop in Cebu died of the disease. As of Sunday evening, the number of cops infected with COVID-19 across the country has increased to 499. Of this number, 288 have already recovered, while the PNP Health Service is currently monitoring 661 probable cases and 875 suspected cases. Take a look.
Yeah, I think the last victim came from Cebu, no? And I think just last week, bringing I think our casualty to 8 already. 8. No, ang last. Yeah, the last 3 are all coming from Cebu. The last 3. That's why if you can, as I have read, we're rushing up our construction and accreditation of our RT-PCR in Cebu because there's so much inspection there. As a matter of fact, ang dami. There was one time parang almost 10 coming from Cebu na positive. No? I think there are 122 ang positive sa Cebu. Masyado na marami. No? That's why we're putting up our RT-PCR there.
Cebu City has been reverted to enhanced community quarantine or ECQ upon recommendation of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases following a recent spike in COVID-19 cases in the city. General Gamboa earlier said 100 policemen would be sent to Cebu City to assist in the enforcement of enhanced community quarantine in the area. He has tasked the regional health services in Western and Eastern Visayas to make sure that the cops who will be deployed have undergone mandatory health checks. In other news, Indonesia has expanded the search for 7 fishermen still missing after a rescue team found 3 more survivors of a capsized boat in waters near the Anak Krakatau volcano, according to officials. A motorboat carrying 16 people sank on Thursday due to strong waves in the Sunda Strait between the islands of Java and Sumatra. 6 survivors were found after the accident, and on Sunday, Indonesia's rescue agency said 3 more were rescued from a traditional fishing boat, which found them floating. Efforts to find them were extended to a 20 to 25 kilometer radius to find the 7 people still missing, according to Heru Amir, a search and rescue official in the Banten province. The 3 survivors told rescuers that the 7 fishermen tried to swim to a nearby island using objects they took from the capsized boat, including jerry cans, according to Amir. Boat accidents are common in Indonesia, a Southeast Asian archipelago of around 17,000 islands, due to lax safety standards. In January, 10 people went missing after a boat carrying 20 migrant workers to neighboring Malaysia capsized off the coast of Sumatra Island. Meanwhile, Indonesia's Mount Merapi, one of the world's most active volcanoes, erupted twice on Sunday, sending clouds of gray ash 6,000 meters into the sky, according to the country's geological agency. The 2 eruptions lasted around 7 minutes, according to the agency, and prompted local authorities to order residents to stay outside a 3-kilometer no-go zone around the rumbling crater near Indonesia's cultural capital, Yogyakarta. The agency did not raise the volcano's alert status after the eruptions, but it advised commercial planes to be cautious in the area. Local media reported that people in neighboring areas, including Sleman and Klaten, heard strong rumbling sounds that morning. Mount Merapi's last major eruption in 2010 killed more than 300 people and forced the evacuation of some 280,000 residents from surrounding areas. That was its most powerful eruption since 1930, which killed 1,300 people, while another explosion in 1994 took about 60 lives. Indonesia has more than 17,000 islands and islets and nearly 130 active volcanoes. The Southeast Asian archipelago nation sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, a vast zone of geological instability where the collision of tectonic plates causes frequent quakes and major volcanic activity. Single-use plastic waste in Thailand ballooned during the coronavirus lockdown as demand for home food delivery soared, according to activists. Efforts to reduce the country's dependency on the environmental scourge. Take a look.
To 20 box of packet per day, approximately maybe 3 ton per month and 40 ton per year. All people of Thailand send it to me.
Sky watchers along a narrow band from West Africa to Arabian Peninsula, India, and the Far East witnessed a dramatic ring of fire solar eclipse on Sunday. Take a look. So-called annular eclipses occur when the moon, passing between Earth and the sun, is not quite close enough to our planet to completely obscure sunlight, leaving a thin ring of the solar disk visible. Now, they happen every year or two and can only be seen from a narrow pathway across the planet. Sunday's eclipse arrived on the Northern Hemisphere's longest day of the year, the summer solstice, when the North Pole is tilted most directly towards the sun. It was first visible in northeastern Republic of Congo from 5:56 local time, just a few minutes after sunrise. That was the point of maximum duration, with the blackout lasting a minute and 22 seconds. Arcing eastwards or arching eastwards across Africa and Asia, it reached maximum eclipse with a perfect solar halo around the moon over Uttarakhand, India, near the Sino-Indian border at 12:10 local time. More spectacular but less long-lived, the exact alignment of the Earth, Moon and Sun was visible for only 38 seconds. In Nairobi, East Africa, observers saw only a partial eclipse as clouds blocked the sky for several seconds. At the exact moment, the moon should have almost hidden the sun. The annular eclipse is visible from only about 2% of Earth's surface. Florent Delafi, an astronomer at the Paris Observatory, said, "It's a bit like switching from a 500-watt to a 30-watt light bulb," he added. "It's a cold light and you don't see as well." Sri Lanka closed its planetarium to prevent a gathering of amateur astronomers due to the coronavirus outbreak, but live-streamed the celestial event on Facebook. A small group of about 15 students huddled around a telescope at the University of Colombo to watch the eclipse. Now, some students used a welding mask to stare at the sun, while others wore glasses made with filters that cut out ultraviolet violet rays. Coronavirus precautions were also taken in Nepal's capital, Kathmandu, as dozens of students and astronomy enthusiasts gathered on a rooftop. Only a few were allowed at the viewing area at a time, wearing masks and sanitizing their hands as they waited their turn. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
Everyone, I am Teacher Sally and this is Irie, my black dog. I am thankful for her company and I am happy every time she is with me. How about you?